What's going on, my babies? Welcome back to another episode of the Spiritual Word. As always, I apologize for any noises in the background in advance and anything of that nature. And also, before I start these, I like to start these off with a disclaimer by stating that these are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research to come to your own conclusion, to have your own answers, to make your own decisions, and I believe in your ability to do so and to be your own person. So, jumping right into today's episode, welcome. I'm your host, Jackie. I have an audio version of this podcast anywhere you can find audio podcasts. And I have a video version of the podcast on YouTube. They're both named The Spiritual Word. I upload Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And if psychology, self-help, science, spirituality, and philosophy are things that you're interested in, then I recommend subbing and following. Or subbing in, following whatever platform you're finding me on. And yeah, let's jump right into today's episode. So in last episode, or last week's episode, I left off on the fundamental nature of reality. And so I kind of want to go back into that just to kind of continue where I left off. So I was talking about how people don't necessarily know when they are creating their experience due to not knowing that they're creating their experience and what that means. So, first and foremost, you have to get your mind wrapped around the fact that you are everything all at once, everywhere, at all times. And we do not fundamentally experience time the way that it's actually structured. Time is everywhere, time is happening all at once. Therefore, your past self and your future self, and even your death and even your other lifetimes are all occurring at the same time. You could even go as far as to say that you are an incarnation of me simultaneously. You are a different version of me, you are a different timeline of me. And so once you wrap your mind around the fact that you are God or consciousness, whatever you represent to be that nature, then you get to a point where you're like, okay, I am the creator of this experience, and creator is creative, or else I wouldn't be here. And in the Bible, when it says the word, in the beginning there was a word, and the word was God. That is the singular context that had to come to be for there to be a flourishment. It's kind of like how flowers start off as a little bud, and then they flourish and their petals spread out. Or, anything of that nature, like when a chicken lays an egg, the egg cracks, and that cracking of the egg becomes the next chick, or the chicken, or whatever the case is. So you have to understand that one, gender doesn't really exist. The only reason that we experience genitals or reproduction or those types of organs or boy girl or any other expression of gender, like if somebody's trans or they're gender fluid or whatever the case is, we put those there for us to understand this reality, because if we don't have meaning to this reality, then there's no structure. And in order for us to continue to learn and to continue to expand and to continue to grow, we need a little bit of structure. That's another reason why I feel we have societies and we have politics in order for us to work together. And we all have to recognize that I am me, but I'm also my dog, I'm also my cat, I'm also the caterpillars on the ground. And that's the fundamental nature of reality. That's the truth of the matter. And I thought that that was so funny that the truth of the matter is its own phrase. The truth is matter. We are everything. We are everything that you can't see. We are everything that you can see. We are everything that you can't experience and everything that you will experience. So once you get your mind wrapped around that, how do you use that in your lifetime? Or how do you use that as like a benefiting tool in your day-to-day experience? Well, one, because you are experiencing the creation in which you have created, You recognize that the past, the present, or the past and the future. I don't know why I said the present. The past and the future are not um bound. You are not bound to your past. You are not bound to your future. And you know, I've never really thought about what fate means, but I feel like fate is the path that you desire to be on, that you choose to bring into your reality, and you call it fate because of the faith that you had in yourself to bring that to you. It was inevitable that you bring that to you. So, faith or fate is something that I've never really touched on or talked about just because I feel like people don't even really understand the fundamental nature of who they are. So, I don't want to go even deeper and to say things like fate. I would say fate. Because, and when I looked at the timestamp, it was 555. Because you don't really recognize what's going on. And if you are not conscious of what's physically going on, and I don't mean physically as in like when people are lying to you or when your experience is not what you want to experience. I mean physically as in your brain understands where you are and where you're sitting in your life. And you are the cosmic grand scheme of life. So that's why I don't really even, want to get into fate. But how do you use this on your day to day experience? One, you don't recognize that you are creating your experience because you think that you're bound to your past. And if you think that you're bound to your past, you will use your past to create your future. Therefore, you will feel mundane. You will feel the repetition of the cycles. You'll say, well, this person I have, like one thing that I've seen in myself is that I was in this relationship where I was very unhappy, and I continue to propel this idea that, well, I see so much potential in this partnership. I see so much potential in this person. I see so much potential in us together. I want us to be together. But it wasn't until I looked at the past and I said, okay, this is my experience. And if my experience continues to be this experience, I know that it's not because of any fundamental past. Like this specific person would bring up the fact that, oh, they had been hurt as a child, they were, RA'd as a child, or essayed as a child. And that's why that, they acted the way that they acted and they had so much trauma and blah, blah, blah. And that was a person who was bound by their past. And the more and more and more and more and more this person cried about who they were as a kid or what happened to them as a kid, the more I realized that you are not bound to the past. You are bound to the idea of the past because it helps you, or there's this idea that being a victim will get you support in this fundamental experience. Like if I tell people I've had a hard life, if I tell people, well, look at me, like boo hoo, I've gotten scraped when I fell and nobody was here to help me, so you should help me. The more I was able to observe this person from an outside point of view, obviously because it's not me, the more I sat there and I was like, this is not going anywhere. You're going in a revolving door and I can't help you out of that. And I'm not going to be a part of this revolving door with you because you're using the same ideas that you once used as a kid and as a victim to be a victim in this relationship and to not put in any time and any effort into what this needs here and now. You're so focused on the past, you're so bound to the past that you can't focus on here and now. And I experienced this with a lot of people, not just that. Like I experienced this a lot with some of the people that I call my family. And I experience this a lot with people that I call my friends. And I experience this a lot with, other people that I don't even know. Like a lot of people will come up to me and trauma dump. And I'm not going to say that I've never trauma dumped a day in my life, but I only trauma dump if it's relevant or if it happened just then. And a lot of people will, like randomly, like if I'm waiting at a bus stop or something, or if I'm at the store, or if I'm walking down the street, somebody will stop me and be like, you know what, I've had a hard life, this and that, this and that. And They usually end it with, wow, I don't know why I told you all of that. And, it's always made me think that you're attracting what you are. So maybe I'm putting too much attention to myself playing the victim. Maybe I'm doing that, right? And this is my explanation as to how you don't know that you're creating a reality. And the moment that I decided, okay, I'm not going to be in this victim mentality, and I'm not going to share my stories with people unless I feel safe in sharing them, and in these people knowing that I'm not just sitting here crying to cry to you. It's more of, I'm sitting here asking you to give me a safe space because I don't know how to be the safe space for myself yet. And I think that comes with time and it comes with growth, and I feel like I'm really good at being that safe space for myself now. But it's taken years of me self-nurturing to be able to do that. And I realize and I recognize that now people don't really want to talk to me. And now people don't really constantly trauma dump on me. And when I looked at the timestamp, it was 11:11. And now people ask me, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? What's your ideas on soulmates? What's your idea on twin flames? What's your idea on all these spiritual things that all these spiritual people talk about? And, you do attract what you do attract your future. And only when you're bound to the past will you repeat cycles. Like, for example, in America, when you're taught history, you're taught that there was violence, that there was negligence, that there was economy crashes, that there was, and all these huge, huge problems. And what do you see in today's world? We repeat the cycles that we put attention to. Right now, there's war and famine and suffering happening as we speak. And why those cycles repeat is because of the attention that we give it. I remember there was a trend going around on TikTok for a while talking about these girls would ask their boyfriends how many times a day they thought about the Roman Empire. And from that moment, I realized that we are fundamentally trained, maybe not consciously trained to think about those things, but we are trained to think about those things. And we are trained to put attention to the things that we don't like. Because why would that be there if we weren't supposed to feel that? And I think that most religions, most modern day things, or most modern teachings, they teach you that if God was real, why would there be war and suffering? Right? And I think that also comes with the fundamental not knowing this. You don't know that God is real until you awaken to yourself being everything and God itself. And most of the religions give you this idea that God is outside of you. God created you, right? But you created yourself. You're just not a part of that whole that you once were a part of. When Jesus talks about being the Son of God, or if, you're in a different religion, then Jesus is God. Or if you're into Buddhist philosophies or Buddhist as religion, then you know that you are a Buddha because you're a part of this whole complete picture. And so, how do you use this in your day to day experience? You attract your future based off your now. It's not based off your past, it's not based off your education, it's not based off the structure that you've created for yourself. The structure that we've created as a human society, or as societies, or as civilizations, is all there for us to understand and to continue to move forward. I can't innovate if there's nothing to innovate. Or if I can't understand what, I wouldn't know how to read if I didn't learn the alphabet. You have to basically go on this incline for yourself. And that incline doesn't stop wherever you started. You don't get smarter based off your past. You get smarter based off now. What are you paying attention to now? And if you're bound to your past, That's what you're using. That's the intelligence that you're using for your present day reality. For example, I know a lot of people who are like, oh, I went to college, but I figured out that it wasn't for me. How did you do that? You figured that out from sitting in class and recognizing, oh, you know what? I don't like this. And what did you do? You left. Or what did those people do? They left. Because they recognize that they don't need to be hating their existence and that you're not here to hate your existence. You're not here to suffer. That's not the point of being a human. And the more you're able to liberate yourself from this idea that I'm supposed to suffer, God died for my sins, the more you recognize that you're not here to suffer, that's not the purpose of you being here, the more you free yourself in being able to experience pleasure and being able to enjoy your life with peace and with wholeness. And whatever you're feeding your attention to is what will grow. There was this analogy in the book, The Science of the Mind, where this is how the universe works. You decide what you want to do, right? If I wanted to plant a tree, I'd plant the tree. But the universe is the one behind its growth, not me. Right? This is what separates us from God, right? This is why we are the sons and daughters and the children of God, because we're here not being a part of the wholeness, but we are a part of the wholeness if you really recognize that you are a part of wholeness. So whatever you choose, whatever your wants, whatever your dreams, whatever your desires are, that's your inner God telling you what to create. That's your inner creative telling you what to create. And once you allow that to exist through you and to be expressed, you allow yourself to nurture, right? So it's kind of like if I decided I wanted to plant a tree, it's actually, my whole complete self's idea, which is God or consciousness. It's actually the creator's idea. My wants, my needs, my plays, whatever I identify to be fun and playful and peaceful, those are actually creators' ideas or Buddha's creators. Now, I'm not a part of the Buddha because I'm still in a body. And you can be as close to enlightenment as physically possible, but until death, you're not really free. You know what I mean? Like, Buddhas spend their whole lives training for the moment of death. They train to let go of everything. They train that once they go back, they're really being taken care of. They're really Buddhists. That's what you train for. You train for death. So recognize that when you have egoistic or in your mind's thoughts, you determine that these are not your actual wants and your actual desires, and you deny yourself and, criticize whatever you want, or you just determine that you're not worthy or something of that nature. You're actually telling that Buddha or that enlightenment or that consciousness or that God that it's not worthy, and so it sits there and it feels that. And the only person that you hurt is yourself when you experience those things or when you deny yourself of knowing the truth. And so once you understand the truth, you sit down and you're like, okay, well, my feelings are what I pay attention to. If I feel happy most of the day, it's what I pay attention to, because obviously I'm going to feel what I'm paying attention to. If I pay attention to how much people criticize me, how much people judge me, I'm probably going to feel really, really shitty. And my feelings are my energy in motion. Emotions. My energy in motion is my emotion. So when I experience, being at peace and being content with the wholeness and reminding myself that once I die, I'll actually be at home. And this is a temporary home. But we can enjoy the temporariness of it because that's the whole point. It's like when you eat, you're enjoying a temporary, experience. When you eat a bag of chips, or if you eat a bag of crackers, or you eat a bag of something, it inevitably runs out. And you don't sit there and cry about, oh, I don't have any more, because you can get more. Just like how in death, you're not going to sit there and cry because you're like, I wish I had more time, because you will. That's the whole point. We're not, you're here because you're experiencing a part of creation that needed to be felt and that needed to be experienced. Just like I'm alive for the point of me experiencing what it's like to be in my life, in my shoes, and have my life story. And so once I pay attention to the things that I want to create, just like this book talks about, I plant a seed because I am creator in this body. I am creating this storyline. I am creating this movie that I get to play in. I get to be the leading role in. And I plant this tree because I want to plant this tree because my free will is unconditionally supported by Creator. If I wanted or if I decided to be, something absolutely horrendous, absolutely fucking disgusting. Like if I decided I want to go and, murder, that would be unconditionally supported by creation or creator. Why? Because I'm so loved that I have free will that even if I wanted to do bad things, I can do that. Because it's a part of the whole. Because my love for myself is so unconditional that I can do whatever I want to do. Even if I, don't see that as something that's good. And because you're so unconditionally supported, even in the moments where you're like, I don't believe that I created this experience. I don't believe that I'm being unconditionally supported. I don't believe that because, sorry if that was loud. I don't believe that because if that were true, why would I experience this horrible life that I've experienced? Why would I have gone through all this? Because you're that unconditionally supported that those people that did that to you had the free will to choose in that moment, and they chose to fuck that moment up. And then when you grow up and you have control of your life, because most of the time, kids don't have control over their lives, And it's up to your parents and it's up to the people who support you and it's up to the people who care for you to make those right decisions. And if they don't, it was supported by the universe. And that can make you very spiteful and very hateful, but you have to recognize that they're only, they're only doing as much as they can. And you have to recognize that once you are able to take control, you can choose. You have the free will to sit there and be like, do I forgive them or not? Are they different people than they were back then? Let's determine off of the now, right? And just like this book said, I can plant a tree, but it grows based off of how much sunlight it's getting. I don't control the sunlight. The universe does control that, and I'm a part of the universe, and I am the universe. But I'm the universe experiencing this temporary experience. I'm the awareness of this body. I am the third eye of this here little camera angle. And because I trust that the universe is going to be unconditionally supportive to me, I say thank you to the universe. And I sit there and I give my thanks. And I sit there and I feel great because I know that I'm unconditionally supported and that my tree will grow, even if it has no sunlight, because I have faith. I have faith. And not religious faith, I have faith. Not hope. Not hope because hope can come crashing down on you. Faith. Because faith is, I know this will come true for me. This will be a possibility for me. I know that I am unconditionally supported. That's what faith is. Hope is saying, well, I hope it happens. Hopefully, right? You're saying, I don't really know. It's kind of wobbly right now. But faith is saying, I know. I know I'm supported. And that's how you use that. That's how you use your God, soul, your God consciousness, your universe consciousness, your nothingness consciousness, your inner Buddha. Buddha is always connected to the whole. Jesus is always connected to the whole. I am always connected to the whole. So let me sit here and do what I want to do because I have the free will to choose what I do. And in my free will, let's enjoy what I'm doing because I know it's working in my favor. Because the universe loves me and it supports me based off how I feel. If I feel like I'm trusting the universe will say, thanks for trusting me. We'll give you more. will give you more of what you're asking for, because clearly you're asking me for something and you're trusting me. And because you trust me, I will grant you that wish, because that's how unconditionally supportive I am. And when you sit there and you say, well, you know, I don't really trust that this thing that I'm asking for is going to happen, but I'm still asking for it, but it's kind of wobbly, then the universe will sit there and say, well, I'm conditionally supporting you based off how you feel. And if you feel wobbly, I'm going to give you more wobbly because that's what you're asking me for. Physically, that's what you're asking me for. And I can only help you if you can help you. If you can sit there and have faith in me, I will bring you more of that faith. Or if you sit there and you be wobbly, then I will bring you more of that wobbly, because I have to support the fact that you think this is real. You think this is reality. So I have to support you. It's kind of like there's a scene in Star Wars when this guy is just literally walking through space and ground is literally meeting his footsteps. Like it's meeting at the same time. And in that experience is kind of like you have to trust the universe, because the universe is it's gonna pull shit out of its straight up ass, because the universe is everything. If you say, well, I have faith that if I put my money and I put my time into this dream that I have, I'm going to accomplish it because I have faith in myself and I am God. This is the control that I get to have. This is a free will that I get to have. I get to create my experience. Although physical reality is actually the one meeting you there, right? You have to meet the you have to meet the universe or God or the wholeness of everything where it can meet you. If you're willing to take those steps and enjoy taking those steps, don't take those steps and be like, oh my God, I'm going to fall through, because then you will fall through. Because the universe is saying, oh, okay, you said that you're going to fall through. I have to back up what you're believing. I have to back up what you're believing. You get to create this experience. I have to love you unconditionally. I don't get to play your role. I only support your role. If you decide that you want to write this script and you say, well, I'm kind of shaky on whether or not this is actually going to happen, then the movie says, oh, okay, let's make it shaky. Or if you sit there and you're like, I believe that this will happen, and you actually do believe that, and you feel that in your everyday waking experience, you sit down, you do what you want to do, you do what you love to do, and you sit down and you say, oh, I'm so glad that I have faith in the universe, because I know that maybe tomorrow I'll experience everything that I've ever wanted. And I have faith that it's going to happen, because that's what the universe is. It's my loving and supportive parent. And that's what it really is. And it's kind of like if you have a movie, the set in the movie has to support the plot. And the plot is what the creator gets to decide. You are the creator. You get to decide the plot. Even if you don't really like the plot, because you feel it, the set has to match it. Sometimes movies are not all rainbows and sunshine and, perfect unicorns. Sometimes the movies that we see are scary, or, they're sad. What are you feeling? Do you feel sad all the time? Because that's what you're creating. If you feel happy all the time, that's what you're creating. So with that being said, I'll go into more detail in the next episode, but thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tapping in. As always, my babies, I love you, and I appreciate you for being here, because I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for what I love to do. And what I love to do is sit down and be here. And, thanks for listening. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. I'll see you in the next one.